linked on Infowars.com. It's also mirrored at Prisonplanet.com. Obama executive order paves the way for nationalization of entire economy. Government greases the skids for America's Greece-style meltdown. And that's always been the public plan. Now, the National Defense Resources Preparedness takes Cold War 1950 emergency legislation that is put into place to be activated if Congress gets destroyed by a Soviet nuke strike. So Congress got tricked into letting this be on the books for a nuke strike, basically. Continuity of government. Obama changes it to say any emergency, including economic, which Bush did in his presidential decision directive and executive order in 2008 that we made a big deal out of. People are like, okay, well, Bush did it too. Now Obama's doing it. The point is that everything in those old orders is being updated and is now being implemented. That's why this is so important. It's one thing to have a plan on the shelf that's dangerous enough. It's another thing to begin to activate it. What do you think it is when the TSA is not just in airports but on highways, pulling people over without warrants, commanding local police, no jurisdiction, no, they're not even federally or state sworn, not bonded. It's totally illegal. But they say it's legal under the emergency. That's why they declare a new emergency every year in Congress. They've always got a new reason, but it's under that emergency declaration since the 1933 War Powers, the 1947 National Security Act, the 1950 National Defense Resources Preparedness, and all of these are just tweakings of systems of martial law and reauthorizations and then rearranging who's in command. John Warner Defense Authorization Act, 2007, says prepare for insurrection, not just by citizens, but by the states. Prepare a governor's council to operate and speak for all 50, appointed by the president. The public will still see 10 governors. That's in the definitions. Black's Law has about 10 pages. I was reading it last night and this morning on martial law and its different permutations. But it's governors with military power. Have you watched during a flood how it's military generals at FEMA now under Big Sis? Have you watched how during tornadoes it's generals under Homeland Security? Have you watched how the whole power structure is going to military people under NORTHCOM? It fits all the definitions. Checkpoints, curfews, suspension of the Fourth Amendment, open warrantless spying. Head of the CIA last week in a speech saying, we spy on all of you without warrants. There are piggyback systems in all new electronics, from your clock radio to your washer and dryer. Go read the quotes. I read them Friday. You guys put the Wired magazine back up? Thank you. For people that are watching on Prisonplanet.tv. Why are they now admitting all this? Why are they saying, yeah, we'll secretly arrest you for any reason and disappear you? Because they've got to get the military and the contractors. A lot of them foreign government contractors are here. That's in FEMA document, NLE09 and others. In the John Warren Defense Authorization Act, it treasonously, traitorously, in the most brazen, chutzpah-fueled bravado I've ever seen, says the Pentagon will move into the states and governors and legislatures. They're saying if the legislature doesn't do what they're told, the feds will move armor in and take the capitals. That's in the John Warren Defense Authorization Act. What did they say last year when they unanimously passed in the House to ban the TSA from touching people's genitals? I mean, they don't even do that in communist China or North Korea. What did they say? They said, we'll run an air blockade. We'll run an air blockade with F-16s of Texas and shoot down any aircraft that enter. That's John Warner Defense Authorization Act. We are in deep trouble. Now, why is the system doing this? That's the $64 million question. When we come back from break, I'm going to address that, and then we'll give the number out and talk to police and military ahead of our next guest joining us. But I'm begging you, to go just type in law dictionary, if you want the long form, long definition martial law or definition martial law, and go read it. And read what the Supreme Court has said. Go read what Black's law says. Go read and then look around you and see what's being rolled in. See, people think of martial law as Waco burning. That's 100 on the scale. You know, everybody being drug out of their homes, concentration camps. No. This martial law is just going to be property taxes, carbon taxes, taking your land, harassing farmers, taking your guns, running checkpoints. But they're phasing it in right now. We're under martial law. I had tried everything. Now, it's very simple, and I want to be clear about this. The United States has been criminally conquered. The Washington Post, Time Magazine, Financial Times of London, they all brag every time I pick one up about, yeah, big mega banks run things now. Yeah, we don't even need local governments anymore. The experts are running things. You won't be voting anymore in your town or city. This is happening all over the U.S. No, a corporation's going to run your town now. In some cases, big cities. And guess what? We're tripling your power and water prices. Oh, it's so we make bigger profits. Don't like it, move somewhere else, but we're taking over there too. And this is so you can't get due process. This is so they can exempt themselves from lawsuits. This is so the criminals that have hijacked our nation can have their way with us. And who's at the top of the pyramid? Goldman Sachs. One of their top executives went public last week saying, we're there to cheat our customers and we call them scum and muppets and idiots. And I can't do it anymore. That's the attitude. Let's rip people off. They're just total criminals, again, who ship guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. And remember what the Attorney General just got caught saying from a tape back in '95. Let's brainwash the public to be anti-gun. And when you see a gun, call the police. And that's why when the telephone guy's in your house, he calls the cops on you, even though the gun's legal. This is what they've turned us into, a nation of snitches reporting to a bunch of criminals. They want the martial law in because the normal law and the system of due process and the Constitution is like holy water to a vampire. It's what will send them to prison. So they want to get rid of it so they can steal at an even greater level, arrest their political opposition, and can't get in trouble. It's elementary. Every tyranny ends up falling, though, because the elites and their minions just start stealing at every level, and the elite will never go after their own minions because, you know, that would be, you know, bad for morale, and so everybody just starts stealing, and then everything falls apart. And I was reading the Black's Law definition of martial law. Typically, the imposition of martial law accompanies curfews. Those are going in everywhere. The suspension of civil law, civil rights, everywhere it's happening. No protest. Arrest you for filming police. Habeas corpus, they're getting rid of that. NDAA. And the application or extension of military law or military justice to civilians. The police act like military now. Civilians defying martial law may be subjected to military tribunal. You don't even get a military tribunal under NDAA. They just kill you. It's beyond even martial law. It's just total mafia, serial killer government. I mean, folks, they grow the opium in front of everyone on the news now. Because the troops are going, I won't do this. I'm going to tell people, oh, really? Watch this. They put the troops grow the opium. Move along. I want to read you this Cicero quote, and we're going to come back and take calls from police and military only, please. A nation can survive its fools and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly. But the traitor moves amongst those within the gates freely. His sly whispers, rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of the government itself. For the traitor appears not a traitor. He speaks in the accents familiar to his victims, and he wears their face and their arguments. He appears to the baseness that lies deep in the hearts of all men. He rots the soul of the nation, by design, I would add. He works secretly and unknown in the night, under national security, to undermine the pillars of the city. He infects the body politic so that it can no longer resist. A murderer is less to fear. The traitor is the plague. Marcus Tullius Cicero, ancient Roman lawyer, writer, scholar, orator, and member of the Senate. Statesman. 106 BC to 43 BC. Resisted Caesar. Was killed by one that came after Caesar. Let it be known that this was to come to pass as this nation went into bondage. America, for all intents and purposes, is dead. Has been conquered, is gone. But countries are not like people who die but once. Countries are ideas. And we could rise from the ashes like the mythical phoenix anytime we wanted to. But we have to admit that we have an illegitimate criminal group running the nation.
We're on the...
Now, if you just joined us, our big top headline at Infowars.com states Obama executive order paves the way for nationalization of the economy. And, of course, as you know, I'm the individual more than anybody that's warned of military takeover of the United States through foreign banks. I told you Europe would be collapsed through derivatives fraud 12, 13 years ago. I've broken down exactly how they would do it, what it would look like, how they would roll it out, because it's in their documents. Now, all the different news outlets that are analyzing this executive order are stating that, oh, yeah, Obama says he can take over all industry, work brigades, oh, this is terrible. What folks haven't done is actually gone and looked at all the accompanying executive orders and U.S. Code and COG that this mentions, because that's where you really find everything. National draft for military, work brigades, everything. Now, does it mean they're going to ever implement all of this? No, but they're trying to. And this is a group who's been caught shipping guns into Mexico to blame it on their political enemies. I mean, that's diabolical. Imagine what else they're up to. Now, I want to hear from active duty military and police, and I'll go to you quickly, and you can make your point, and I'll move to the next person about this. Because the reason we're covering it today, after probably talking about this, I don't know, more than 1,000 times in the last 17 years on air, is because now it's all starting to move quicker. It's on the same trajectory, but accelerating, and people are finally getting it. But this is bipartisan. This goes back to Eisenhower. Again, under nuclear attack, they put this in place. This is not for nuclear attack. Obama's changing it to say any disaster, any emergency, repeating what Bush did. But he's moving to activate it. And remember, Obama announced we needed a domestic security force just as big, just as strong. Remember that quote? In fact, guys, later I'm going to play the brainwashing clip by the Attorney General one more time. Brainwash folks.